Good evening, all. Thank you for the invitation to talk about the new development after the speech of President Trump about Jerusalem, recognizing Israel as Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. One of the most dangerous elements in that speech, when Trump mentioned that Israel has the right to decide its capital because the government, parliament, and the Supreme Court are there in Jerusalem. Maybe not all of you know that this is the exact drafting of an Israeli law taken in 1980, recognizing Israel, recognizing Great Jerusalem, unified Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, with Supreme Court, Parliament, and government building in this or that Jerusalem. That's to say, President Trump totally adopted the Israeli narrative. He totally adopted the occupation narrative of Al-Quds Sharif, of Jerusalem. And objecting the traditional position of the State Department, saying that they are against the annexation law of East Jerusalem, taken in the government decisions and discussions immediately after 67 occupation. And doing that in the eve of what so-called the ultimate deal by President Trump is one of two possibilities: or ingenuity or something else. Because if you are a broker, you should not ruin that deal just because you are delivering to both parties. And telling Palestinians or telling Israelis you have all, and telling Palestinians you have nothing, is to say there will be no deal. And it is the ultimate failure just because before you are delivering any ideas. And because we hear what's going on, and we know the ideas and the components of that ultimate deal, we were not so surprised or astonished or shocked by that decision of President Trump. Because in the ultimate deal, he is not solving the issue of East Jerusalem, Al-Quds Sharif. He is not talking about 67 borders. He is not solving the issue of the refugees. And he is not talking about independence and sovereignty. What else? It is more than obvious that we know that he did not consult the Palestinian leadership about that speech. No one wording, and I can understand that why. But he totally adopted the ideas delivered by him, by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Because that speech was so orchestrated between Trump and his three musketeers, Greenblatt, Friedman, the ambassador in Tel Aviv, and Kushner. who are much more settler supporters than almost half of the Knesset. Much more. I live there. When you are choosing such advisors and you are appointing such ambassador to Tel Aviv, you are telling people that you are almost between the Likud and the Jewish home, Abayit HaYehudi of Naftali Bennett. It seems that the ultimate deal is not between Israelis and Palestinians, but between Likud and Bayit Yehudi, Netanyahu and Bennett. He tried a lot, President Trump, after the declaration and the very good decision of the Palestinian leadership, to boycott this administration, not to talk with them, not to accept them as a broker. He tried to put pressure to ask the Russians, to ask Europeans, to ask Arabs, to put pressure on the Palestinian leadership and the Palestinian president to come back to so-called negotiating process, to the process. But at the end, we know exactly what's there on the table. And Jerusalem is not another final status issue. It's one of the most important core issues of the conflict. And look what went there about Al-Aqsa Mosque when meganometers were put there in order to change the status quo by Benjamin Netanyahu, and the taxes were to be put on the church in East Jerusalem by the Israeli government and the mayor of West Jerusalem near Barkat. In both cases, the resistance and the rejection, the way of they dealt with it in a very popular non-violent resistance succeeded. And Netanyahu went back in both cases, in Al-Aqsa and in the mosque and in the church. It is a very excellent model of success. But it is to say that there is a continuous attempt for Judaization of Jerusalem, Tahweed al-Quds, by targeting mosques and churches and attacking religious figures inside the old city. I am serving as the head of the Jerusalem Committee in the Arab Joint List in the Knesset. And we are daily, almost daily, joining the struggle of Jerusalem residents, Palestinians in Jerusalem, in the issue of Al-Aqsa Mosque, the church, municipalities, siege, demolition of housing, arrests. At any case, we did not feel any empathy of the American administration, of that ambassador, who is tweeting much more even than his president. And it is pathological if you are tweeting more than Trump. About the Israeli victims, he is always, but I had never read any tweet of Friedman or Greenblatt when the victims are Palestinian children. And there are a lot, للأسف. There are a lot, there are many. It is moral double standard. It is not only the position about Jerusalem as a capital, it is that double standard that excludes you from being a broker. And this is the reason why international conference and more than one player, which is the American, should be there in order to try to bridge the gap. And the gap is huge. Why? Because that speech of Trump also was a bullet in the vision of two-state solution. Netanyahu gradually killed that idea, and he is very much proud. He told the Likud supporters, if I will be prime minister in the campaign, there will be no Palestinian state. Once he said in Bar Ilan University, verbally, that he is supporting Palestinian state. I believe Netanyahu won, not Netanyahu two. Why? Because we feel his policy on the ground. He is enhancing, supporting, building settlements, which make it impossible to have a Palestinian state. And if you don't have a Palestinian state, independent Palestinian state, as an implementation of the two-state solution, one should start to talk about one state, or two state, or one state. Whenever, there are two choices on the table of every Israeli prime minister. And whenever you are giving, Daniel, you are giving two choices to any Israeli prime minister, or even to any Israeli, he is choosing the third option, which is not there. And the third option is the status quo. Because occupation does not cost. It's not costing anything for the occupier. Economically, politically, diplomatically, secure, nothing. In some areas, he is gaining benefits. In the Jordan Valley, almost 900 million shekels yearly to the Israeli budget, treasury, agriculture, factories, etc. Why to stop? If you are not accepting two-state solution and you do think that one-state solution is a nightmare for the Zionism, for Israelis, what is the status quo? It's deepening of the apartheid in 1967 areas. And when we are talking about one-state solution, there are two types of one-state solution. One is democratic, with equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians, Jews and Arabs. In that case, it seems, Daniel, that I will be your prime minister, not Bibi. Because we'll be more. And the second type is two groups of citizens, one with rights, Jews, and one without, Palestinians. This is absolute apartheid. Israel is being dealt in the international community as a democratic state. I am the deputy speaker of the Knesset. I am telling you it is not the case. Because Israel has no constitution, as in England, but has 11 basic rules. According to the Israeli basic law for the last 30 years or more, Israel is being defined as a Jewish and democratic. Look, Jewish before democratic. It's a Jewish and democratic. I am saying that it's true. فعلا. Israel is Jewish and democratic. But it is democratic towards Jews and Jewish towards Arabs. That's to say, it is ethnocracy. There are three kinds of rules that the government of Israel is carrying on. The first one is democracy for 80% of the citizens, for the Jewish majority. Democracy for the Jews. Ethnocracy or eudocracy. The second is racial discrimination against 20% of the citizens, the Arab citizens of the State of Israel, the Palestinians Arabs. The third rule is occupation and apartheid in 1967. Israel should be related to and dealt according to these three categories, not according to the first one. Because democracy is not only to have people vote or be elected. It's an absolute total experience of freedom, of equality. I am trying for the last 20 years to have a motion called equality, basic law equality. Every time it being failed because the government is against. And I am not saying even equality between Jews and Arabs. Just equality, absolute value. Equality. Jews and Arabs, if you want, men and women, black and white, seculars and religious. Equality. They are against it. In the basic Israeli laws, there is no specific law which called equality. And when you are defining the state in an ethnic definition, saying that the state is Jewish, you are saying that Moshe is better than Ahmad because Moshe is Jew and Ahmad is non-Jew. And when you are saying that the state is democratic, you are saying that all citizens are equals. But a Jewish citizen is superior to non-Jewish. This is oxymoron. And against this oxymoron, we are fighting day by day. Thank you very much.